Members, if you would go ahead and sign in, please, on the microphone tab so that we can begin the committee. House Transportation Committee for March 11th, 2025 is now in session. Welcome to everyone. Members, please sign in on your keypad for the roll call. Give you just a moment to sign in on your keypad. We have some members that are just now coming in.
Oh, there you go.
Is everybody signed in to the keypad? Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll, please? Well, mine has signed me out again. Let me, 22. Enter meeting. There we go. Finally worked. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Members, any personal orders? Representative Sherrill.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a little young man today that's job shadowing down here on the front row. His name is Bryant. If you would stand up, Bryant.
Make him
Thank you.
welcome.
Make him welcome.
Any other personal orders? Representative Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a job shadow here also, Mr. Tyler Terry, if you'll stand up.
Welcome.
Tyler's dad and I went to the Highway Patrol Academy together back in 1998. So
Welcome. Vice Chairman Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Also in the shadowing world today, Bradley, please stand up. This young lady is with me today. And
Welcome.
And also the lady who I do not have the name exactly in front of me right now that's working with him, you please stand up also, because I think the program that has taken place this morning reveals to me that there are young people out there that want to be involved in what takes place around our communities, and I appreciate all of them being out today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Glad you're here. Thank you. Members, we have any other personal orders? Did I miss anyone? Representative Ashley.
I'd just like to thank the Highway Patrol. On the way down here yesterday, there's a little incident on I-40 with two vehicles, and about 20 minutes later, one of your troopers come across the median and went after it. And then there were two vehicles that on a few more miles, a city, I think it's around Mount Juliet, they got the other vehicle. So just great job, the Highway Patrol.
Very good. We appreciate our officers. All right, members, we have 10 items on the calendar. We'll take up the calendar first, and then we're going to hear from the Department of Revenue regarding their process. This is an important thing that we hear today regarding their process for identifying Tennessee drivers who drive without liability insurance. So I hope that you will stick around for that because it's something this committee will have to deal with in the future. But I need to do some house cleaning. House Bill number one, item number one, House Bill 1316 is rolled 1 week. Item number 4, House Bill 28 is off notice. And that brings us to item number 2. And Representative Chairlady Littleton, you're recognized, Chairlady. We have a motion. We have a second. Do you have an amendment, Chairlady?
I do. It is number 3948.
That's what I have. Let's deal with the amendment. Do I have a motion or a second on the motion and a second on the amendment? Are you ready to vote on the amendment? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Amendment's on the bill. Please explain the bill, Chairlady.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1350, as amended, authorizes qualifying disabled veterans to apply for a free distinguishing placard for disabled veterans in lieu of a free license plate. It authorizes a disabled veteran who has applied for and has been issued a free registration and license plate to also apply to be issued distinguishing placard upon payment of the cost of the placard. So we think if they have a placard at choice, or they can buy the license plate and the placard, but the placard can be moved from vehicle to vehicle for transportation back and forth.
Very good. You've heard the explanation from the sponsor. Any questions from the members? Question has been called on the bill. We're ready to vote. Clerk, please open the voting board. Everyone cast their vote. Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes.
Ayes have it. Your bill goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chairman
you.
and committee.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3. Chairman Halsey, we have a motion and a second. Do you have an amendment, sir?
No, sir, I don't.
Very good. Please explain your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. This was brought by a couple of officers up in my old department who are wanting to restore old emergency vehicles, antique emergency vehicles. And under current law, you can't do that. I mean, you can restore the vehicle, but you can't put blue lights on it or red lights on it, let alone turn them on. And in fact, there are some counties where it is illegal to install them or maintain them. So what this bill does, it says if you have an emergency vehicle that's an antique, it's over 25 years old, you can put those lights on that vehicle as long as they're representative of the era that they came from or the year they were manufactured. And you can use them in parades and fairs and those kinds of things. You can't come up and run up and down the road with it, but you can do that. And it requires that you get a letter from the chief of police or the fire chief to do so, to keep in your possession at all time. And that's what the bill does.
All right. You've heard the explanation from the sponsor. Any questions? Representative McCallum, you have a question?
It's fine, Mr. Chairman. I found what I was looking for in the bill.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're ready to vote. Please open the voting booth. Does everyone cast their vote? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes.
18 ayes have it. Your bill goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4. It's off notice. Moving on to item number 5 by Representative Chairman Grills. Chairman Grills. We will roll him to the heel. I believe he's presenting a bill somewhere else. Moving on to item. Representative. We're gonna reconsider our actions while he runs a sprint down the aisle.
Do we have any oxygen?
Chairman Grills, you're up. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was a little bit late because I have so many fans out there.
Yeah, they came to see you. Please explain your bill,
Am
sir.
I recognized, Chairman?
You are, sir.
I believe we have an amendment on the bill. Mr.
What is your amendment number?
004345.
That's what I have. Let's move. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor of adding the amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Amendments on the bill. Please explain your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. Like I said last week, I want to thank the Department of Safety right off the bat for working with me over the last 16, 18 months. We brought a bill last year trying to deal with the way side-by-sides and UTVs were perceived in the code and and create some uniformity across the state. They asked if we would wait and work on it over the summer last year through the winter, and here's the product of that working. And because of that, we are here now to put a more concise, uniform code when dealing with side-by-sides and UTVs across the state. So with that, I'll get more specific if we need to, but if not, I appreciate your support.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Any questions for the sponsor? We have a question. Chairman Hawk.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Grills, thank you for this work. And in addition to all the folks that we thank, Joel Hayes, our very own Joel Hayes, has done some tremendous work in writes and rewrites and third times. And I don't want to embarrass him, but I definitely want to give Joel the proper thanks. And as he and I have been working on several bills together as two, I want to give Joel a round of applause. So thank you to Joel for his work. Thank you for indulgence, Chairman.
Thank you. We have the best here. Any other comments, questions for the sponsor? Speaker Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative Grills, can you just go over the highlights of
Absolutely.
what's in this, please?
You're recognized.
So what we're doing, we're adding clarity to the way UTVs are allowed to operate on the state roads in the state of Tennessee. On roads that are 45 miles per hour and under, they are allowed to use those as long as they're not part of the interstate system or the defense system. But these are like 2-lane roads that are 45 mile an hour and less. County roads are left just like they are. And if the county does not that has a problem with this, they can, as a county, opt out.
Follow up?
Thank you. And you have to have insurance and lights
Yes,
and
sir.
blinkers and all the regular stuff that private cars have.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anything that comes standard on that side-by-side, they have to have the license, they have to have liability, they have to be 16 years or older. No permits or hardships are allowed to be on these side-by-sides as they're moving up and down the road, but they do have to have liability insurance, and they have to be licensed and with your county court clerk.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? I want to thank the sponsors as well, working with safety on this. We had, as committees, we had a patchwork of rules and laws and regulations that really got unwieldy, and spent a lot of time over the summer working on this and trying to concise it up a lot. And I think a lot of good work has been done, and I appreciate it. Are we ready to vote? Madam Clerk, please open the voting board. Everybody voted. Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Mr. Chairman, you have 18 ayes.
18 ayes have it. Your bill goes to financer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 6. We have a motion and a second. Representative Burkhardt, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 975. Under current law, a county commission has the ability to lower speed limits on roads that are maintained by the county. This bill is permissive, and it simply enables a county commission to delegate that authority to lower the speed limits to the county highway supervisor if the highway department employs an engineer and engineering and traffic investigations are completed. This comes to me from Montgomery County. They want to be able to do this. And again, the county commission has to allow that, and they can take it back at any time. So, and I'll stand for any questions that anyone might have.
Okay, you've heard the explanation. Any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none, question has been called. Please open the voting board. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 16 ayes.
16 ayes prevails. Your bill goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman and
Thank you,
committee.
sir.
Thank you, Chairman and committee.
Item number 7, Representative Sparks. We have a motion and a second. on this, and I believe Representative Sparks, we have, I believe Representative McCalman, you have an amendment, is that correct? You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is drafting code 004147.
I have a motion and a second on the amendment. I might ask the sponsor if you have any comments on this
Well,
amendment?
yes, I think there's some little confusion on the amendments. Can the member go ahead and explain
You're
your
recognized.
amendment, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sponsor. Members, what this amendment does is it rewrites the bill to lower the exception to 21 versus lowering the standard. It would still allow, for Representative Sparks's case and his folks, it would allow members of the employees of the school system who are 21 to be able to apply and be school bus drivers, as well as members and veterans of the military. Currently, the standard is 25 for school bus drivers, with the exception being 23 for veterans and employees of the school system. But it does rewrite the bill.
Any questions for the sponsor of the amendment? Representative Vital? On the bill, okay. You recognize sponsor.
There was some miscommunication. I think I was thinking his amendment was 23, and that's what we have here. Is your drafting code 004147?
That's correct.
4147.
Yes, that's Representative McAlpin's amendment.
If I can get an opinion from legal real quick on.
Sure, we'll go out of session
update
and
what
hear
we're
from legal.
Joel Hayes, Office of Legal Services.
You're recognized.
Yeah, just go ahead and explain the amendments that you have before you. Because this is.
4147 we're talking about.
Okay.
Yes, just one moment. So the amendment with drafting number 4147 keeps the standard requirement for the endorsement at 25 years of age, but it lowers the age of exception from 23 to 21 years of age. And the exception is for those that are honorably discharged from the armed forces, a member of the National Guard or reserve component of the armed forces, or a teacher licensed by the LEA and employed by the LEA.
Well, I think my understanding, his amendment was at 23. There's some miscommunication on that. That may be my fault, Representative McCalman.
You recognize.
The current exception is 23 years of age. You have the standard age of 25, and then the exception applies currently at 23 years of age.
Yeah.
This amendment is lowering that exception, the age for the exception from 23 to 21.
Yes, that's not what. All right, I think there's another amendment that Mayberry has.
I believe that is an amendment we've not taken up yet. That is Representative Mayberry's.
Okay.
So we're on amendment to 4147 at this point.
Yeah.
Chairman Hall.
That's not the one.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to reiterate, I believe what Representative McCalman's attempt to do is to take the current situation where we have allowances or exceptions within school districts that will go from 25, which is the standard now. Someone must be 25 to get to be able to drive a school bus. There are 3 exceptions where someone can be honorably discharged from the U.S. Armed Forces, member of the National Guard, or a licensed teacher. That goes to 23. What Representative McCalman's amendment is doing is trying to lower that to 21, which mirrors the intent, the original intent of your legislation. So it takes the exceptions from 23 down to 21, just to bring some clarity to it. I'm still not in love with the piece of legislation, but this gets closer to the intent of someone within the current exceptions can go down to the age of 21. Just for discussion, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. You're recognized.
Yes, sir. With all due respect, I don't think that's really going to help us fill the crisis of the lack of school bus drivers. We're saying it's a step. I don't think it's a big enough step in the direction to help our crisis that we are facing. That I believe the amendment that I'm supportive of is Mayberry's amendment.
Okay.
If we could hear, it's possible to hear that amendment, sir.
Chairman.
You're recognized.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you. And you and I, we've had the conversation. I passed the original legislation that set the age limit at 25. And I fear that with this legislation, if we don't learn from past history, we're destined to repeat it. And I know what a big historian you are.
Yes, sir.
I fear that people are losing sight of why just a few years ago we changed the age level to 25 years old. This is the only amendment that I could possibly even support. I may not even support the legislation at this time.
Yeah.
The second amendment that we may consider, if we do not, or if we do accept this amendment, it puts us in a posture that the next amendment would vacate this current amendment. So I just want members to be aware that if we accept this current amendment or adopt this current amendment, the subsequent amendment would then again rewrite the bill and we'd be back to square one. So just a heads up as we're working a process through this particular bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're recognized.
Yes, sir. With all due respect to the chairman and Mike Mahon, that's not the amendment that I was under the impression it was 23 years of age. It's really not going to help us on this. If I could, Chairman, is it possible? I'm assuming Department of Safety is going to testify against the bill. Are they?
They're on the list if we need them.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it possible to let them go ahead and speak
Yes.
and let us know
have-
why we came to this point?
Okay.
Is it good?
We're in this position. We have a motion and an amendment on the floor, so we're going to go out of session. We'll come back and deal with this issue before
Yes,
we
sir.
move on.
Thank you, Chairman.
Out of session, Safety, you are welcome to come forward and please give us your name and all the pertinent information, and you are recognized.
Elizabeth Stroker, Legislative Director, Assistant General Counsel for the Department of Safety. Do you want us to talk about the amendment being proposed, right? I'm just want to make sure that we're.
I'm going to defer to the sponsor who asked for you to come forward.
Well, y'all have been actively working against the piece of legislation. Can you explain why we went to the 25? Explain the bus crash, explain why we're here with this dilemma of the shortage of school bus drivers.
You're recognized.
Understood. Yeah. So back in, I believe it was 2017, 2018, there was a tragic bus crash in the Chattanooga, Hamilton County area that resulted in the death of numerous young children. And the driver of that school bus had some prior things on his record. He should not have really been able to be driving. He didn't have a full driving history. And he was, I believe, 24 years old. And so as a result of that, the department brought a bill that Chairman Hawk carried for us and did a lot of things. It added in some safeguards for people applying to be a school bus driver, added in some background checks. It also increased the age limit to 25. And that decision was brought because it ensures that someone at least has a few years of experience behind an 18-wheeler before they are able to get their S endorsement. Obviously, someone who is driving cargo for a trucking company is very different than someone who is driving rowdy kids, a lot of kids, for hours on end. And so that was the consensus of the General Assembly that we think 25 is a good age. It ensures that they've got at least 4 years of driving experience behind that. And again, as far as will this or what caused the crisis, lowering or increasing the age did not cause the crisis for the school bus shortage of drivers. That happened because there are a lot of federal regulations around becoming a school bus driver or even getting a CDL in the first place. So as some of you know, if you want to become a school bus driver first at 21, you'd have to get your full Class C license or A or B license, your commercial driver's license, which requires you to get your permit. You have to take a separate test than what you did to get your Class D license. And then you've got to hold that for a 2-week period. Then you can come in and take your 3-part skills exam, which I know some of members on this committee have that. It's not a quick exam. We schedule it for about 3 hours. You've got to go through that 3-part skills exam. And I keep forgetting because this is a new piece, but even before you can take that skills test, you have to go through a new federally mandated entry-level driver training program, which can be expensive and it can take weeks to complete. And so that's really where we saw the drop off for both commercial drivers and school bus drivers, is that you have to jump through so many hoops for testing and training that people just do not really want to go into that profession anymore. And I think kind of on top of that, when you add on dealing with children, and we've seen increases of, combative or disruptive children in school buses, it's just not something that people want to do, especially of that younger age. And if you pull the numbers, we only have 20 people who are 25 years old who even hold a school bus license. And there are only 4 people who are 24 who hold one. And there are 0 people who are 23. Your numbers really come in when people hit that 30, 35 year age limit. And so, or age range. And so while we understand there is a crisis, the problem is coming from the many, many federal mandates around being able to get a CDL or a Class S endorsement with your P endorsement in the first place. And so and just kind of to touch on, we also don't love the bill as amended with Representative McCalman's amendment, but it definitely makes us more comfortable because it's someone who at least has a few years of driving experience and someone who has that military or is a teacher in that school that's been more vetted. So we would reluctantly be comfortable enough with Representative McCalman's amendment.
We have some questions for our guests. Representative Vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Ms. Stoker. I just want to clarify, I do support the position of the Department of Safety. It was November 21, 2016 in Hamilton County, and the accident was at Woodmore. We had 6 children killed, 32 injured, and it was excessive speed. There was no drugs or alcohol involved in that driver. It's a tragic moment that our community will always remember, and the trauma of those young people that have continued. The work that our community has had to do to work to transport those children to school for years later has been an effort to reassure them of the confidence and protection that they have. And that's what parents expect when a child gets on a school bus. They expect that driver to have the experience and the capabilities, the patience. It's a tough job to be a school bus driver. And I would like to encourage others to try to do that job, but I think they need more experience and time to deal with the dynamics of driving. So with that, I want to encourage people from the military to come up and step up and be involved. Maybe there's a balance that we can find, but I'm opposed to dropping the age from 25 on behalf of my community. Thank you.
Vice Chairman Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Stroker, I've got a question, and it's really an opinion. So you mentioned that this incident that Representative Vital just mentioned, it's very tragic. Do you think if that individual had been 30 years old or 40 or even 50, provided they had not had they didn't really meet all of the credentials, let's say, do you think it would have made any difference? The age really had anything to do with that?
You reckon that?
I don't think that would be something that we would be comfortable opining on. We wouldn't want to speculate on that.
Well,
you reckon that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you going down that list, and I appreciate Representative Vital's position on that. And I'm kind of struggling whether the age really has any bearing on the ability of somebody that has been properly vetted, properly trained, and would they be able to drive a school bus safely? And I can speak from my own experience. I have kids of mine that were moving heavy equipment at 16 and 17 years old with a truck and a gooseneck that were very capable of doing that at that age. Now, were all my kids capable of doing that? They were not. And I have a daughter in the audience right now that probably would not have been capable of doing that, but that was not something she was comfortable doing. Not to be critical of anybody, but some people's gifts are better in certain areas than others. And so do we have any 21-year-olds that want to drive a school bus? I think we heard some from one gentleman in subcommittee that wanted to drive a school bus. Is there any more than that? I don't know. I mean, based on the numbers you're giving us, there's not that many people under the age of 25 wanting to drive a school bus. And the criteria is pretty stringent, and I think it should remain that way. So I'm just curious if that accident could have been prevented if the person was 30 or 40 or 50 years old. And you don't have to answer the question. I don't know that there is an answer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Towns.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think it's a great line of questioning that we have going here. One of the things I think that we have to recognize when we matured, it's hard to remember how you were when you were 21 years old. And we know that young people, many times they're not as mature. And so the judgment comes into question about how you do things. Okay. There are things that you did when you were 21 years old. You look back at it today and you say, whoa, how did I get through that? Just how we are. We mature. We see things differently. We understand things better. We make better decisions. Now, in all cases, no, it's never going to happen in all cases. Okay. And you have some young people that are mature beyond their years when they get here. I think the old folk call them old souls, back in the day. But just generally speaking, there's a criteria on, I think, on almost everything we do. I think you have to be 35 to run for president. There's a level, there's a limit on being governor at a certain point in time. So the judgment is what I would question. And the other thing I would question, what is the pay? What are we paying? Are the jobs competitive? The salaried for the market. If you're not paying the right kind of money, young folk don't want those jobs. You got to pay some money. You got to spend some money. You can't get those jobs for peanut wages, okay? Especially if you got young people I don't know, they may have dropped out of college or just another have debt, they have families, have children. What are the starting wages for those jobs in that neck of the woods?
You recognize.
I can't give you a starting wage, but I do know that we have found out that it is much more lucrative for you to just get your CDL and drive for a trucking company than it would be to go the route of being a school bus driver. So I think that also attributes to it as just going and driving the truck and not dealing with the extra requirements or dealing with the children probably has something to do with it.
Well, we have to figure out how across the state, you're going to need bus drivers for kids to be transported safely. We have to figure out what is the total dynamic that will entice young folk to want to do these jobs. We got to have people, but it's not right now, as I'm saying, and from my community, it's not one size, because we had some of the same problems. It's not one solution is going to actually, resolve that problem. But I do know that the financial incentive is going to be a big part of it. Okay. And we must at all times have safe people that we entrust our children to do these jobs. Okay. There's no, in my mind, safety is first, period, for these jobs. These are big trucks. I mean, they're big and they got lives on them. So we got to make sure they're safe. We got to figure out how to do some other things. It may be a 1-2-3 punch. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Renault.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Stoker, on the unfortunate accident that happened that Representative Vital referenced, you mentioned that the driver had a previous record. Can you allude to what the incidents is on his previous record that might have indicated this might not have been a driver that should have been approved to drive a school bus?
You recognize.
I don't have those details with me.
Okay, thank you.
You recognize.
I feel like if there was a previous driving record, that would be a greater indicator of someone who might not be capable to drive versus automatically discounting everyone because of an age. In the gentleman who testified in the subcommittee, who's already an employee of the state, would probably, and already working on the bus as it is, I would like to see exceptions where there are recommendations or references able to be provided by people already working in this area that I think the teachers, parents, administration would love to have someone like that who already is familiar with the children, who already has great respect, who already has likely earned the respect of the students on the bus, who would not have potentially some of the issues maybe of someone who is not known. So that's really just a statement that in this case, that because there was a previous driving record that sounds like would have been indicative that guy shouldn't have not been approved to be an employee in the first place. I would hate to discount it for someone who does want to do it and who has gone through the process. And while age And I agree with Representative Butler as well. You know, there are a lot of young people who are mature, beyond their years and should have the opportunity to do this within some guidelines that are provided to ensure safety for the students.
Recognized.
Yes, Representative, and I don't think we would disagree with you. There definitely could be situations where someone could be proven to be safe. The consensus we came to was this age, so there may be a way that you create something relative to the schools being involved or knowledge, but this bill just doesn't do that. And so we're just here to speak to kind of the language we have in front of us. I understand.
Our list is growing. Representative Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And safety, have y'all done a study or pulled the stats from crash data to see the age range on bus crashes to see how, I think you got 24, that's 25 and under compared to the other age groups of bus driver crashes?
You're recognized.
So we have the numbers of how many bus crashes happen in the state in any given year, but we don't have that specifics of detailing what that age may be.
You're recognized.
Depending on what happens to this bill, do you think we can pull the stats on the driver's age for buses and maybe send it over to the chairman and he can disperse it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Very good. You follow up?
And one more question. Would you talk about what safety's been doing about giving more tests and more bus drivers to be able to place on the road?
You're recognized.
Yes, and that was actually a bill that Chairman Marsh carried for the department a few years ago. We used to have a tremendous backlog of people getting their commercial driver's license and adding their S endorsements to it. In some areas, it would be, up to 3 months of a wait before you could get in. So we had a massive shortage in the state for both school bus drivers and commercial drivers in general. And 2022, Chairman Marsh, with the support of this committee and Chairman Howell, passed the Open Roads Act, where we changed a lot of the testing regulations around it to be as in line with the feds that we could without any undue restrictions. We also opened up third-party testing on a more wide-scale arena, and we also started mandating that those third parties have to offer testing for other areas as far as adjoining schools, adjoining LEAs, and making sure that people are taking on as much as they can to make sure that there's no undue delay with getting your credentials currently. And I'm happy to report that right now, I think our highest wait for getting a skills test, whether that be your commercial or S endorsement, is only 5 days, which is the lowest it has ever been. And so, again, that's why we really think the hindrance that people are seeing is that, one, the pay, the type of job that it is, and just how much work you have to do for testing and training on the front end.
Chairman Russell.
I appreciate that. And I've been getting a lot of feedback about that bill that went into law, and I appreciate safety and getting that pushed through. And of course, I appreciate Speaker Marsh and presenting that. So thank you all.
Thank you. Representative Mayberry.
Yeah, we're local LEAs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're local LEAs consulted with when you guys have initially decided to make this change.
Recognized.
Yes, sir. So it was a joint effort on the Department of Safety and the Department of Education in consultation with those locals as well as the General Assembly.
Follow up?
Yeah, just one follow up. Appreciate that. Just so the members know, the reason we did 23 on my amendment is the Clarksville Montgomery County School System. I consulted with them and they felt comfortable with 23. They quite frankly didn't feel comfortable with 21, but they felt comfortable with 23. As many people on this committee probably know, school bus driver shortages are very high. And so we believe that this tier variance there could make a significant impact, but that's the reason for mine. Thank you.
Representative Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. I'll be honest with you, as a retired military man, 21, military folks getting out at 21 are still very immature, especially at that age, as Representative Towns said. There's a maturity level. Just because they were there doesn't mean they can handle kids at that age. So I am reluctant to even agree with the amendment because I know and I've seen 21-year-olds who get out. And so I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not even comfortable with dropping it to 23. However, I do realize there's a shortage. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, your insurance does not even go down until you're 25. Is that correct? Am I pretty
You
close on that?
recognize?
I don't know the answer to that. Members of this committee might know that answer
Yeah.
better than I do, but
That's correct. The answer is yes. I'm told by a father over
The
here.
answer, thank you, Mr. Chairman, because the answer is yes. I didn't see mine drop till I was 25, and I didn't have a speeding ticket, so it was really upsetting to me. And I think Chairman Russell asked already, there is no statistics on just a 21-year-old, 25 and below crashes, period, for the state. Is there a statistic on that, Mr. Captain there?
you demoted him.
That's right. He didn't fire me. Colonel Matt Perry, Tennessee Highway Patrol. I'm sure there is a statistic. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we'll go back and get it. And the school bus crashes, we have those numbers, but the drivers that are younger than 24 or there's so few that even if we told you there was 10 crashes, it's not a very good sample size, but we'll still get all those numbers.
Thank you. And Colonel, I apologize for misjudging that. But I again, I do have a problem with us trying to lower that age, because I do think maturity is a big issue when it comes to driving, and especially with kids in the back who can be rowdy. So I don't know if I could work with that amendment as it is, but thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Stevens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to figure out procedurally where we are. I think we're debating both amendments and the bill here, and we're out of session.
Just to clarify, we're out of session and we're hearing testimony from safety on the bill and the amendment that we have not yet adopted. We will go back into session and deal with the amendment that is before the committee.
Okay, I'll have a comment when we get back into session. Thank you.
Very good. Speaker Marsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And what I wanted to say is, in the trucking industry, we can hire drivers at 21 and we're still having a terrible time finding competent drivers that want to work. I just think it's hard right now. People don't want to work. And it's very hard with the federal government requiring that 2 weeks training before you can get your CDL. And we don't know any people that can afford to be off work 2 weeks before they can go get a job. And so I think it's critical that we take every precaution that we can to ensure that we have the best drivers and the most safe drivers when we're hauling kids. It's I don't know that dropping it down will make it even easier to hire drivers or not. You could, but it's not easy with us now in trucking. We just can't find them.
Thank you. That's the end of our list. Just to clarify something that I think I heard earlier, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but in your opinion, is the shortage of drivers more due to federal regulations and pay than it is to age? Would you care to opine on that? If you don't, that's fine.
That's what we've heard. It's that people just don't, the biggest complaint we get for commercial testing now that we fixed the wait time is they can't take off and do the required training that's necessary.
Okay, very good. No further witnesses. We're going to thank you for coming forward back into session. We are now on the amendment. Any further questions or comments on the amendment, which is 4147? Representative Stevens, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question was, if we adopt Amendment 1 and then adopt Amendment 2, is it going to contradict itself?
If we adopt Amendment 1 and then we take up Amendment 2 and it is adopted, it will override Amendment 1. So Amendment 2 would rewrite the bill.
So then my question is, before we vote on Amendment 1, should we hear Amendment 2 first to figure out what the differences are?
Parliamentary, we can. We have a motion before us. We have to deal with this motion.
Can we roll that to the hill of the amendments?
Not sure we can roll it to the hill when we have a motion on the floor.
y'all second withdraw motion, but I have a feeling this is going to fail.
I believe the position is that we need to vote on this bill and dispense of it and then go to the next one.
Okay.
Sponsor, give you the last word.
If I could, Chairman, what the Department of Safety failed to tell you is this guy's also a sex offender, child molester, the one that was responsible for the life of 6 kids. I think that would be powerful testimony to let you know that a guy raped a 14-year-old girl on multiple occasions, and they failed to tell you that. Just disappointed the Department of Safety. This guy shouldn't have been driving a school bus. Even another lawmaker seen the guy driving the school bus speeding. The county didn't do their due diligence. They shouldn't have hired the guy. So we had a knee-jerk reaction, and we're the most restrictive in the nation, folks. The nation. We're more restrictive than North Korea, Russia, and Cuba. I can't make this stuff up. We're more restrictive. Metro themselves had 72 shortage of bus drivers. I was just talking to Mr. David Settles, who drives for Metro. He said he has maybe 80 to 85 students on that bus. If my math's right, that's about 6,120 students that could be left at a bus stop, that parents are having to drive those kids to school. One thing we all agree on, even the Sergeant Arms agrees with me. Don't you, Mr. Sergeant Arms? And he even agrees. We're short of school bus drivers, folks. We got a crisis. My school board chairman is supportive. My school board members are supportive. Montgomery, your school board, county is supportive. We got a crisis. This is the way to fix it. I'm tired of seeing the brokenness in our community, in our state. This is never to fix it. And we let one guy that killed 6 kids. I'm not going to use profanity, Chairman. He raped a girl, 14-year-old girl, raped her 4 or 5 times. Department of Safety fails to tell you that. We should care about those issues, folks. We should care. Vote this amendment down, please. Representative Mayberry's amendment's what I want. Thank you,
Any
Chairman.
questions, comments before we vote? Are we ready to vote? Please, we're voting on Amendment 4147. Madam Clerk, please open the voting tab. Has everyone voted? Anyone wish to change their vote? Madam Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes, 12 nays, 1 present not voting.
Amendment fails. Thank you very much. We will move on and look at another amendment brought by Representative Mayberry. We have a motion. We have a second. And Representative Mayberry, what is your amendment code?
This amendment just would change the age from 21 to 23. And
What is the drafting code, Representative?
Oh, where's that at? 004588.
Very good. We have a motion and a second on that amendment. All in favor of adding it to the bill, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. No. Noes have it. Amendment fails. We're back on the bill, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I've got some folks to testify. If we could hear their testimony.
Okay. Is that a request to go out of session?
Yes, sir, if we could. Yes, sir.
Okay. We will go out of session, and if the witness would come forward, please.
Dave, Isaiah.
And you have 3 minutes, please, and we'll start with the one on my right. Please identify yourself and who you're with.
Alrighty. Hello, my name is Isaiah Heineck. I'm with Representative Mike Sparks. I'm here to discuss on why I believe lowering the minimum age to drive a school bus and why it would benefit our cities and towns across the state of Tennessee. Firstly is career opportunities. We have young folks, including myself, who see this as a lifelong career, whether there's someone who just recently found it as a career opportunity or there's someone like me who's been wanting to drive a bus since they were 5 years old. The current 25 age requirement is a discouragement to me and others. What we need to understand is that before the age of 25, most young folks have already found their lifelong careers, and most people already graduated from college by the time they are 22. So the high age requirement makes it very less likely that younger folks would want to drive a school bus. That also falls into another issue, our driver shortage. Lowering the minimum age will help alleviate the driver shortage. I can't guarantee it will completely take it away, but it will certainly help to a degree. The driver shortage is causing a lot of issues. Kids are waiting at bus stops a lot longer than they need to be, and kids are riding the buses a lot longer than they need to be. I see it every day as I'm a bus monitor on a Rutherford County bus. It causes stress, chaos, and safety concerns for these children. It even impacts their education as these kids are getting to school late and they don't have time to eat breakfast. Parents are getting frustrated because they don't have time to sit and wait at the bus stops for long periods of time because they have to get to work. I understand that we have the 25 age requirement due to safety concerns, but there are other routes to go to still ensure the safekeeping of these kids. For instance, we could run stronger background checks to accommodate. Also, bus drivers currently already go through very extensive training that requires them to know everything about the bus. Also, bus drivers get random drug tested more often than staff and employees at the school because they hold a CDL. They also go once a year to get a physical checkup to maintain their CDL. So between the already restrictive requirements to drive a school bus and the stronger background checks to see the maturity level of the individual person versus just saying they're qualified because they're a certain age, then I believe we can lower the age and still hold the strict safety restrictions in place. I hope that you all will consider lowering the age to drive a school bus. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to y'all.
Thank you. Right on time. Gentlemen, we'll hear from you. Please identify yourself and who you're with.
Yes, sir. Good morning. I'm David Settles. I'm representing myself.
Okay.
I am a school bus driver for Metro Nashville Schools, and I'm also a school board member in Murfreesboro City Schools. So I am a school bus driver because I like to be a school bus driver. I am the first person that these kids see that represents their school district in the morning, and the last face they see at night. Driving a school bus is a strenuous job. As Mr. Sparks indicated, I have one of the larger buses that we have. So I transport around 85 kids on my bus. And most of the time they're screaming, yelling, jumping, and shouting. It is not for the faint at heart. It is not necessarily an easy job. But what helps me to do the job is I was trained properly and extensively. My trainer was Miss Sherry Mabry, and she is a certified trainer, and she does training for Metro Nashville, as well as other school systems, school bus drivers. So I enjoy driving the school bus. I think lowering the age would open it up to more eligible drivers. I think that it would not necessarily invite immature applicants, because if you undertake to go through the course, it's a heavy undertaking. So if you're 21 years old and you can get through the strenuousness of the training, you're qualified for the most part to drive a school bus. My trainer trained another driver, and she tells the story of him going through all of the training that he was supposed to go through, took his road test, he was taking the corners at around 40 miles an hour, riding up on people's bumpers and things like that. She made him pull the bus over. He was much over 21, by the way. She made him pull the bus over, get out of the seat, and told him, "You're not going to drive at all." Because her thinking is, and I think she's probably not unique in this, but her thinking and mine is as well, if I don't feel safe putting my grandkids on your bus for you to drive them, you're not going to pass. So we do have adequate and able trainers, and that's what's really needed, not necessarily an arbitrary age of 25 to say, now you've reached a certain level. I think 21 is a good age, and I think we'll open it up and maybe help alleviate some of the backlog. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, Representative Speaker Marsh?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David, thank you all for being here, and I understand your predicament. And what I wanted to ask is, being a school bus driver, is this a full-time job? because I know you're early in the morning and then don't do anything in the middle that I know of, and then you're late, and then you're off in the summers. Is it a full-time job, and can a person make a living being solely a school bus driver?
You can. You can. I think pay is a big issue. One of the things that Metro did was they increased their pay before I started. So pay is an issue for us, for myself. I have definitely been able to make a living from it. I appreciate the time in between my shifts, in between my morning run and my afternoon run. And I appreciate the fact that right now I'm on spring break. That's why I'm here. So I do appreciate that. It won't be a secret. I can tell you it won't offend me at all. Last year, I cleared $60,000 driving a school bus, being off spring break, fall break, summer, and all of the holidays in between. So yes, you can make a living. I probably don't make as much as some of y'all, but I do okay.
Go. Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Sorry, I'm short, so I'm back here in the back. But one of the things I kind of wanted to ask you was, I kind of got roped into coaching my daughter's tennis team. And so one of the things that we had to do was obviously get travel for some of the games that were away. And I was really appreciative of those bus drivers taking the time and out of their day to accommodate us, because it was, something that was important for those girls to be able to go to those away events and participate. And so I know that probably, it took me a little bit to try to find someone too. And so that kind of brings up that issue of shortages as well. For all of our extracurricular activities or field trips, doesn't the lack of bus drivers really impact those sort of activities as well?
You're recognized.
Yes, it is. That's the simple answer. Yes, it does. Oftentimes, you will have coaches or